Good evening, everybody. Startup India is back with the third webinar in its series of webinars to strengthen the ecosystem for Indic language startups. Today, we have representatives from two important stakeholders in the world of internet, W3C and NIXI. Both the organizations are working towards standardization of internet for all potential users, including the startups in Indic domains, especially the ones working in technology sector. Just to give you guys a little bit of debrief about both the organizations, Worldwide Web Consortium, which is W3C, is one of the main international standards organization for www. It was founded in 1994, and the consortium is made up of member organizations that work together for development of standards for the internet. From India, Department of Information Technology is a full voting member of W3C. Then we have NIXI, which was set up with an objective of facilitating improved internet services across the country. It works by pairing of ISPs amongst themselves for the purpose of routing domestic traffic within the country instead of taking it all the way to abroad and resulting in a better quality of service. I would like to welcome both the speakers today from the organization. Thanks a lot for taking out time for this, sir. Just to introduce both the speakers to the audience, we have Mr. Alan Bird from W3C. He's the Global Business Development Leader of the organization. Mr. Bird's career in the IT industry since the 1970s has been focused on enterprise systems management and application development and management. And he specializes in the building of partnerships in these areas to benefit end users. He's also led North American business development efforts for AEP networks and global business development efforts for CyberArk software. Currently, Mr. Bird leads W3C staff efforts internationally to identify business strategies. We welcome you, sir. And then we have Mr. Shubham Saran, who's a General Manager for Business Development and National Internet Exchange of India, which is NIXI. Mr. Saran has been managing the National Internet Registry, CCTLD Registry, and Internet Exchange operations. Before NIXI, he has been associated with leading telecom operators of the country. At the recently concluded APNIC 50, Shubham Saran sir has been elected to NRO-NC for a 2-year term, starting January 2021. He represents Asia's Voice of Asia Pacific Committee in ICANN. So, we welcome you to the webinar.
Thank you. Thanks.
And I would like to now take the opportunity to start the presentation. The format will be both the speakers will give their presentations, and it will be if any contestant or in any participant has any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments section, and we will take them up. So, sir, Mr. Alan Bird, sir, I leave the floor to you to start with the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Neha, for the great introduction. It's a privilege to be presenting to the startup community in India, especially around Indic languages. As Neha said, I am the Global Business Development Leader. Today, I'm talking to you from my home. Because of COVID and the circumstances we all find ourselves in, I've been in my home office since March the 10th. I normally spend 160,000 miles a year on airplanes. So it's been a quite different 8 months for me. So let's go ahead and get started with the presentation. On this presentation, I want to walk you through who W3C is, where we are today, and why you as a startup in India might want to get involved with W3C, especially around Indic languages. So let me get the right screen. So we are W3C is the global steward, the steward of global standards. The picture up there is Tim Berners-Lee. He invented the web when he was a researcher at CERN. And a few years after inventing the web, formed the Worldwide Web Consortium to keep the web free and open for everybody forever. We are a membership organization with 400 members around the globe. We have about 85-ish big companies, people like Google and Microsoft and IBM and Comcast. But we have an equal number of people like yourself, startups organizations, which are the small, nimble organizations, 2 to 10 people size companies around the globe. One of the key factors on the web is it's built on royalty-free standards. You don't pay a tax when you use the web. Companies that participate contribute their technical standards and their technical contributions in a royalty-free way so that anyone can do it, but that also allows everybody to participate in it. So why are web standards important? You probably know all of this, but a standards approach leverages the resources of the masses and not just of the proprietary. They're open for people to use. It helps everybody grow their own market share, and it allows people to participate in a more open system in a less proprietary world. So what does that mean if you're a startup? Within W3C, whether you're a startup or a big company, your participation is the same. We treat all of our members equally. So somebody from a startup company with a really good idea has the same voice in one of our working groups as somebody from IBM. As a W3C member or a business group participant, you will be connecting with the global experts in your discussions. So you're sitting across the table from the person at Google that knows the most about a given topic, and you can have that interactive dialogue. And more importantly, you can take that conversation outside the room and build business value together. You see on the screen the W3C member logo. As a member, you can display that on your page, which shows that you're a part of the global community and adds value to your brand. You can also put a member testimonial on our website so that people can see why you're working with W3C. And as I've said a couple of times already, we need you. We need startups because that's where a lot of the innovation comes from. People can be involved in the conversation and bring the really innovative ideas that you have together. And so one of the things startups are all about is developers. So we have several resources that are available for you. If you go to w3.org/developers, you'll be taken to our developers homepage. In addition to that, we've got a set of courses offered on W3 on edX under the W3CX banner that if you take the courses, that will give you a certificate in front-end web development. And then we have our validators. If you go to validator.w3.org, you'll see a set of validators that allow you to look at HTML or XHTML or math or etc. And do the validation of your website as being properly marked up. So those are all things that we do for you as a developer to make things work for you. So we currently focus on 3 areas in W3C. I'm going to quickly go through these: expanding our core capabilities, what we call the web for all, and looking at different verticals. So we call the core web the open web platform. That's the things that you as a web developer might know or be used to for a long time. Things like HTML and CSS and the core web technologies. Those together are the applications development platform of the future, and we really want people to use that. When you look at what we're doing, these are technologies beyond just basic browsing. Things like WebRTC for real-time communications, web authentication, where you can get rid of usernames and passwords, web payments, where you can streamline the payment process. So all of these are areas of web technologies that W3C is actively working on today. Again, you as a startup can bring some innovation to these areas to us. That'd be really good. And why is the web important? Because people are getting app fatigue. Everyone has a browser on their phone, but most people are really getting worn out on having to download proprietary applications all the time. So if you can go with using our progressive web apps technology, you can give people a native-like experience in your application on a web browser. These are some examples of companies that have provided these applications today, and there are many, many more out there. So let's talk about Web for All. Accessibility is the ability to these are 4 areas that we focus on to make sure that regardless what industry we're talking about or regardless what area we're talking about, that we're doing it. Accessibility is making sure that people can access the web regardless of their different capabilities or differentiated abilities. Internationalization is something you all know about. It's how do you make sure the web is available in any language, regardless of the flow of that language or how that language should be delivered on the web. We need your help, and I'll talk about that in a minute, to make internationalization work better for the Indian community. Privacy and identity, making sure that people are only sharing the identity they need, things like web authentication fall into that. And security, making sure anything we do doesn't open a security hole in the web. So let's talk about internationalization for a minute. The web needs your help. This chart shows you stakeholders and the activities of those stakeholders. But to meet those goals that we're talking about, we need your input. We need the language developers that actually know how to get things done and how the things should work. This is a little bit of text that we're looking for you as stakeholders to provide expert personnel to help with the initiatives. There's a lot of work. We've got a grid. There's a lot of detail we could go into around internationalization. Our office in India, our chapter in India, which is headquartered in CDAC, is putting together is driving an initiative for us around Indic language and improving how the web works with Indic languages. I would encourage you to reach out to either myself or to the CDAC W3C team and learn how you can personally be more involved and make sure that the web supports your language in to the best as a world-class language on peer with any other fonts. We also talk about industries. Let's talk a little bit about how we do that. These 8 areas are things that we're working on every day. We have members working on automotive and media entertainment, etc. I just want to focus on these 3, though: advertising, e-commerce, and digital publishing, because I think those are important to India. So we have some work on improving web advertising. You may have heard that Google is removing third-party cookies. Well, what does that mean for the world, and how does that get done? That's really what the focus of this work is. How do you still deliver privacy-protecting ads on the web in the new world? We have over 100 companies and 300 people working on this conversation. If that's something you're interested in, and clearly ads are available in Indic languages, let's make sure those are rendered properly on the in the web and considered as well. This is an area you might want to get involved in. E-commerce on the web. People do a lot of transactions. More and more people are doing things with QR code reading. People are looking at how do they streamline payments to verify the person without it being so much friction involved. We're doing a lot of work around e-commerce, and you can see these various groups that we have in W3C. This is a new group we just launched. This past week we announced it. We have what's called a merchant business group, which is really looking at what are the requirements for merchants on the web. It's more than just payments. It's how do they enhance their mobile experience? How do they protect privacy? How do they make sure that their sites are seen as accessible, etc. And again, all this applies whether the merchant is a global merchant like Kohl's supermarkets in Australia, or the local jewelry seller in Bangalore who wants to work in his native language. All of these people have websites. Everybody does commerce, and everybody does commerce over the web. We need to make sure it's inclusive. Last but not least is publishing. One of the active areas of work for us is publishing, and how do you make sure that EPUB is treating all documents equally? So whether the book is in Hindi or English or Bangalore or Bengali, that it's all rendered properly on the web. And one of the things we're looking at is how do we download it? There was a seminar on StreamFizz, which you can see in July, that talked about our publishing work. So how can you personally participate? Help build the web community in India by building the chapter. As I mentioned, CDAC is our host for W3C India. We've had a long relationship with CDAC over the years, and so we're really encouraged by their ongoing support. Join our W3C mailing list. Most of our groups have a public mailing list, and so you can just follow the work that's going on in those groups by joining the mailing list. Participate in or create a community groups. Community groups are places that take 5 individuals to form them to work on a technical thing that affects the web. So if you have an idea, go to w3.org and look up community groups and maybe form your own community group. Maybe there's a specific need in India for a community group, or browse the ones that are there. Join a business group. If you're interested in the activities that are going on around payments or around merchants or around automotive, we've got 6 or 7 different advertising. We've got 6 or 7 different business groups that you can join. And last but certainly not least is becoming a regular W3C member, to have a seat at the table and to have full input into how the web is working, how things are moving, and how it can benefit you. So join us. The Consortium was created in 1994. We're celebrating 26 years of being around. That's a long time. We are the place that makes the standards and make the web work. If the web's not working, doing something that you want, W3C is the place to bring that issue to and to participate in the evolution of the web. So, Neha, that's all I've got for my presentation. Thank you for letting me present today, and I'll take any questions that there may be.
Neha, you are on mute.
Hello. Sorry. So sorry. I was saying thank you so much, sir. Thank you for shedding light on the web standards by W3C and what the organization is working on and how startups can leverage these resources as well. Thanks a lot. I would now like to call upon Shubham Saran, sir, from NIXI. He will talk about internationalized domain names, which are basically domain names which are available in all 22 official languages. And these domain names enable internet in vernacular languages and Indic languages for all non-English speaking users. So you can take the presentation forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Neha, and thanks, Mr. Allen, for that presentation of yours. Definitely it has helped the startup community in India, how they can participate and how they can contribute to this entire initiative. So a very good afternoon to everyone who's present in the session. I am Shubham. I work for National Internet Exchange of India, NIXI. It's an organization which touches the lives of each and every Indian who's on the internet. And NIXI might not be known, but yes, we touch lives of each and every individual who's on internet. So I would like to thank the organizers of the event, the Startup India team, the DPIIT, our fellow organization and partner in the ITN journey, CTAC GIST, and my team for organizing such events. So there's a good amount of trust from the Indian government for the Indic internet and the ecosystem. And IDNs is a part of this entire initiative. IDNs enables the Indic internet or the vernacular internet. Talking about the country, like India, as you are aware that India as a country is in a unique position. We are the second largest internet user base in the world, which is almost close to 740 plus million users now. And India has got the highest, world's highest data usage also, which is almost close to 12 GB and per user. And it is further expected that there will be a further growth in this And there are multiple factors which will contribute to it. One is the growth of the number of the smartphone users, including the growth in the rural area, how the internet has penetrated into the rural part of the country, and how the average, there has been an average increase in the average usage of the data as well. But when we talk about this growth, we are no doubt number one in the user base, and the second highest, and the number two in the user base, and the highest data consumption consumers. But this growth, I'll say, is not inclusive. It's not inclusive. The government has launched its flagship in Digital India program, and they have been fully committed to the transformation of India into a digitally empowered society and knowledge economy. However, it cannot be deemed to be a digitally empowered society if a segment of India's population is not able to participate. Still, there are millions of Indian users who are not on the internet, and majority of the people who as per the market study done by IMEI and IMRP, so still majority of these people who are not in internet, they want to go digital if they can access in a language of their choice. So how NIXI as an organization is enabling this, or is contributing to this cause? So under the support and guidance of Ministry of Electronics, Government of India, and as the CCTLD registry, we have taken an initiative to take internet beyond India's English speakers. We are supporting all 22 official Indian languages through the IDNs. And IDN is what? It's such a domain name that contains the characters and in a particular language, and it's supporting its script and the alphabets. So Gautam, if you can just skip to the next one. Yeah. So, giving a background about NIXI. NIXI is a not-for-profit organization. It was set up in the year 2003. It is Section 25 companies of 1956, which is now Section 8 of 2013. So, as Neha said in the beginning, in the introduction, when it was set up as an internet exchange. So, there are three line of operations which we manage, three areas wherein we contribute to in the internet domain for the country. First is the internet exchange. That's how we came into existence, wherein we provide a platform to all the peering members by facilitating the exchange of the domestic internet traffic. And there are 8 strategic nodes across the country which we have here. And initially it was open to ISPs when we was set up initially, but now we are open to everyone, whomsoever has got a valid AS numbers, who are into the utility services, wherein all those entities who find that if they pair with if they come on an internet exchange kind of a platform, and they'll be able to deliver a better service to their end users, they are most welcome to come on NIXI as a internet exchange. So the second line of operation is the CCTLD operations, the country code top level domain, the .in registry which we handle. So we are handling it since 2005, wherein we handle the .in and the internationalized domain names, which is the IDNs in all 22 official languages. The current user count, we are almost close to 2.4 million user base who are on the .in, and it's always a growing kind of a number. Then the third line of operations is the Indian the IRIN, wherein we are operating since 2012. It is the number registry. So there are 2 aspects to internet. One is the name and the number. So we handle both the name and the number registry. So this is the number registries, wherein the Indian entities, it's open for all the Indian entities who want to have a IPv4 or IPv6 from for their usage, for their internal usage. They can directly reach out to us, and we'll be in a position to give the IPs and ASN numbers to them. Gautam, next. So talking about the registry, the .in registry. We operate under the registrar models. NIXI is not directly interfacing the end customers. We are not directly allocating the domains to the end users. So it works in a three-layer structure, which is the registrar model. So NIXI acts as a authoritative repository of the TLD.in and .bharat in all the languages. Then there is a second level is the registrars. So we have got globally 137 registrars. So it's open for anyone who's present across the globe. And we have a strong network of 137 registrars. They act as an interface between the registry and the end user, and they act as extended arms of the registry. And along with the domain, if they want to provide extra services to the registrants, that's up to them. And then the third layer is the end user or the registrant, which is basically the final client who uses the domain, who put the domain to the users. So we operate under this particular registrar model. Next. So these are the certain zones. There are in totality 12 zones which are being offered under the .in. There are certain zones which are unlimited, wherein for the common man, the unlimited registrations are available. The common one is the .in. Then we have .co.in, .farm, .in. These are the zones. And then there is a second class of zones which is reserved only for the specific or only for the qualified organization in India. So the prominent one is gov.in, which is applicable or which is available only to the government entities. Then there is for the academics, there is ac.in and edu.in. So these are the specific zones which are available to the users. This is about the .in. But if we talk about the IDNs, unless we give a kind of a robust and multilingual internet to Indic internet to the users, we'll not be able to help the proliferation of the internet or proliferation of the domains within the country. So that's how the IDN came into existence. Gautam, if you can just shift to the next one. This brings me to, I just want you to spend, go through this particular line. This is a quote which has been used by the IDN community. Once Nelson Mandela said that if you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. But if you talk to a person in his language, that goes to his heart. So there's a difference. So there's a connotation which we are trying to draw. The IDN talks to a person. The IDN facilitates a person to use the internet or to put internet to use in his own language. So IDN helps in enabling this. IDN helps in facilitating this to the end user. Gautam, next. So IDNs are is the internationalized domain names, as I said earlier. These are represented in the local languages. It contains letters from the characters or from the language, from the scripts, which is non-ASCII. The major benefits which IDN brings in is that it facilitates the interaction with the locals in their native language. So suppose if you are a Tamil speaking person, or if your native language is Kannada, you will be able to interact in your local language. Then it promotes the usage of the local language content. The content is definitely it's been a challenge, and I'll cover in future slides. But it definitely helps. Like once you are in a position to create the content in the local language, then it definitely promotes the usage of the local language content. Then promote the reach of internet in the remote and the far-flung areas. So that's the whole intent of using the IDNs or promoting the IDNs. And then enabling the multilingual internet or bridging the digital divide. So the digital divide which is currently there, this digital divide I'm talking about the English and the non-English speaking. So as one of the studies says that most of the guys, most of the people who are not there on internet, they want to come on internet, provided they get they are being facilitated or they get the opportunity to access it in their own language. So this we are talking about the digital divide. Gautam, if you can shift next. So just giving you an update, like this all how the IDN started with at NIXI. So it got assigned in the year 2011 when ICANN delegated this in the initial 7 languages. Then initially it was launched in the Devanagari script, and then gradually we launched it on in other languages. And recently, in the month of June, we were able to complete the delegation in all 22 official languages. And as of today, when we talk, anyone can book a domain, .bharat domain in any of the official 22 languages of the country. So, we are proud to say that, Gautam, next please. So we are proud to share, as a fellow Indian, I'm sure each one of us will feel proud in this aspect that we have got the largest TLD base. And in terms of the IDN, if you can see in the map itself, we have got 15 TLDs, which is the highest in the across the country, across the globe, which we are handling the maximum number of the TLDs. And so in totality, we handle 16 TLDs. One is the .in and the remaining in the 15 languages. So at this point of time, I would like to acknowledge CDAC also, who have helped under the edges of MITI in developing the IDN policy for all 22 languages. So they have helped us in developing the software APIs for all languages, helped in generating the validation generation engines and the variant tables, thereby avoiding any kind of a confusion. And then this entire API, the handshaking with the .in registry infrastructure was also done. So this entire IDN internationalized domain names, they operate. It operates under the standards which have been created in terms of globally, which is known as the IDN-A, which is internationalizing the domain names in applications. So it was done long back, and we have adopted the same. So this brings me to the challenges which, as an organization or as an IDN, globally has been faced by all the IDN registries. So Gautam, if you can shift to next. So these are the challenges. When I say challenges, all these challenges are the areas where the startups and the budding entrepreneurs who are working in this area. There are a lot many startups and entrepreneurs who are working in this area, but this should be taken up as a challenge. If you are willing to take up it as a challenge, then there are a lot many opportunities which can be explored. So first and foremost, I would like to talk about the awareness part. So in a multilingual society like India, providing domain names in a language of choice is very important, as shared earlier. So if you have to use internet and give internet the right push for the further growth, then we have to enable this. We have to enable the multilingual internet. So it is estimated that Indian language internet users will account for almost 75% of the India's internet user base by 2021. And like .bharat is helping to this cause, is contributing to this cause. So definitely, since we have started offering the .bharat, there has been a good amount of adoption. But yes, there's a lot to be achieved. There is a good amount of scope, there's a good amount of market which we need to reach out to. There's a good amount of awareness which needs to be created. So the awareness efforts which primarily were targeted in the metros and the tier 1 cities. So there's under the current management, under the current leadership and the MITI directions, we are working in those directions, wherein we are doing a reach out activity, or we are taking this awareness campaigns to the tier 2 and the tier 3 cities. Because when we take pride in saying that we have got the largest amount of the TLDs in the world, it brings its own challenges. Like if we compare it with any other country, be it Russia or China, wherein they use the IDNs in a single language. India is altogether a different market. We have 15 different TLDs. We have all 22 official languages wherein the user can book a domain. So it brings to that kind of a customized kind of approach wherein every TLD or every IDN can be taken as a kind of a focused approach is required for every IDN. So if we are talking about Malayalam, then we have to go to Kerala, the end users. We have to go to the end user level and promote that. So we are working in that direction wherein we are talking. We are taking that particular approach that we reach out to the tier 2 and the tier 3 cities and to the specific areas. So why tier 2 and tier 3 cities were not penetrated or were not reached out earlier was because there were certain issues. There were certain infrastructure issues which used to be there, which used to be like poor connectivity or the lack of the local content and the applications. But Indian government has undertaken some flagship projects to address these issues, and I'm sure we have a bright future ahead. So this is about the end users, the adopters who will adopt the IDNs for their usage, for their personal usage, or for their business usage. But if you talk about creating the awareness for business, definitely a domain name gives credibility to a particular business. It adds value to their business. It gives the digital identity to their business. And as India's internet usage has begun to spread beyond the English speaking user base, all the major e-com players or all the major internet operators or the internet, all those entities who have been primarily using internet as a mode of operations, they are matching to this requirement. They have realized that there lies a potential beyond English. Then there's a good amount of potential which is there beyond the English users. So organizations like Amazon, Flipkart, all they have launched support for the local languages, and they have launched the applications in the local languages. So wherein the customers can come, they discover deals, discounts, they can get the product information, they can manage their account also, and they can even make the payments, the entire transactions they can do it in their own preferred language. So there is a need to create awareness at the business level. So some or the big players, they have realized this, but there's still a need there's still a scope for creating the awareness at the business level. So the second challenge is the access part, the tools and the means to access internet in the local language. So there have been initiatives, there have been trust from the government and from the industry side that how to facilitate this. So to enable easy user access and registration for IDN domain names, there are certain soft keyboards which are made to enable domain name registration in each of the 22 languages. So there are initiatives, there are plans to this effect. The second aspect is here, which I want to touch, is the DNS. So 95% of their DNS is in the Latin script. So there is a need to have a Indic language DNS also. And to this effect, there has been a community-based effort, which is the Neo Brahmi Script Generation Panel, or the NBGP. It was formed by 9 communities that use scripts derived from the Brahmi script. And NBGP has worked extensively over the last few years to develop root zone level generation rules, which is LGR, for each language. And as per the IDN program update, which was given in the recently concluded ICANN 69, which happened in the virtual mode, the LGRs were finalized and integrated into the root zone labels for all the 9 scripts. So there is a good amount of work which has happened in this. And this initiative is not only helpful for the Indian Indic users, but it will bring benefit and value to the neighboring countries also who are using the same scripts. So this will enable the deployment of domain names in the local language and the scripts. So as of today, we have .bharat. So now there is a scope whenever ICANN starts the application, there is a scope for us that for all the Indian users or for the other community users around or the neighboring countries, that they can book a TLD in their own preferred language. So it's all because of the efforts of this particular panel, which has worked extensively over the last 3 or 5 years now. So this brings me to the third point, which is the content part. So on the content part, the KPMG and the Google survey report, one of the reports suggested that around 90% of the Indian users prefer using local language for online engagement. The same report also suggested that Internet as of today has got only 0.1%, less than 1% of the content available in the Indian languages. So there's a good amount of gap between these two stats. So to address this pressing need for making online content and information to the increasing number of Indian and the users, Ministry of Electronics and IT, MIT, Government of India has launched some initiatives with the aim of increasing the internet penetration in the country by enabling greater access of regional language content. So it's a joint initiative wherein they have joined hands with other entities and working in the directions, and to bridge the knowledge divide by propelling the next phase of growth. They are not only creating the content, but and the entire ecosystem where the content generators, the content enablers, advertisers, and other stakeholders are there. So ecosystem which gets created. So there are multiple initiatives which mighty Government of India is taking in this direction, and more and more people who will come on IDNs or come on internet through their preferred language, they will be in a position to create the content of their own. So once we reach to that level wherein people become aware about the availability of the domains and they get used to access the internet in their preferred language, then definitely it will lead to the content creation. And this particular challenge which we have as of today, we'll be able to work on that. So the next challenge, which has been a kind of a common one for all the IDN operators across the globe, is the universal acceptance. Which brings me to the next one, which is the universal acceptance. So the recent IDN World Report 2020, which is an initiative of EuroID, it mentions that the usage of IDNs. For the usage of the IDNs, still the universal acceptance remains as a biggest challenge. Gautam, if you can skip to next, please. So what is universal acceptance? So universal acceptance is the concept that all the domain names and email addresses should be treated equally. Domain names and email addresses which are being used, whether it's is the CCTLD, whether it's a ASCII or a non-ASCII based domain, it should be treated equally. So there are almost 1,200 plus GTLDs which have been launched. So earlier it used to be a kind of a 2-letter or 3-letter kind of TLD, but now we have a longer TLDs like. There are multiple examples, not to name anyone, but there are multiple TLDs which are long TLDs. So, and there are IDNs. So all these TLDs, they should be treated equally. They should be at par like any other TLD which is being used. So universal acceptance is, as it says, that it's the cornerstone to a digitally inclusive internet. So It says that universal acceptance is a cornerstone to a digitally inclusive internet by ensuring all domain names and the email addresses in any languages, script, or character length are accepted equally by all internet-enabled applications, devices, and the systems. So this means that the domain names and the email addresses must be accepted, validated, stored, processed, and displayed in a consistent and effective manner for the internet to realize its true potential and be truly multilingual. So this is the underlying objective of universal acceptance. Gautam, if you can skip to next, please. So these are the 5 verbs to UA readiness. So which I shared, that accept, validate, store, process, and display. So this is the objective which this entire group is trying to achieve. There's a universal acceptance steering group which is being supported by the ICANN. And they have been actively working on realizing this vision by encouraging the established player, the big players, by encouraging the developers over there to support all domain names and email addresses in multiple languages across the world. So the language benefits may be benefits from IDNs may be particularly important towards increased growth of the internet. But Gautam, if you can skip to next, please. So these are the major benefits which universal acceptance will derive. It will definitely, once everything is being treated at par, once everything is being treated equally, whether it's an IDN or whether it's a new TLD, then if we talk specifically about the IDNs, because here we are talking about the IDNs, so any IDNs which is being launched, if I'm using a Gujarati IDN, if I'm using in Kashmiri, or I'm using a Sindhi TLD, then it should be treated at par with .in or any other generic top-level domains. So what universal acceptance, the benefit which it gives to the end users, it to the internet ecosystem, I'll say, not only to the internet, to the end user, but to the entire internet ecosystem. It helps in connecting the next billion internet users, because they'll be able to, they should not act like, if they are trying to access it, if they are trying to use Facebook or Google or any other applications in their own preferred language, so they should be able to register their email ID or their domain should reflect as it is, the way a Gmail or the way a .in domain facilitates. So it once it is done, then it will help to connect the next billion internet users. It will bring a better accessibility to the world via internationalization of the internet. It will deliver a better user experience, better customer satisfaction. So as from the business perspective, from the organization's perspective, once they are able to deliver this kind of a user experience to the end users, they'll have a better retention, they'll have a better stickiness with them. So even the customer support, if they are able to give it in their own language, then the customer support burden will also get reduced. So Gautam, so there are certain use cases which we have mentioned here, which I have mentioned here, that who are currently using .bharat. But yes, as I said, there's still a good amount of scope. There's still a good amount of awareness which we have to create as the registry, as the end users, as one of the stakeholders in this entire ecosystem, that yes, we have to work towards the further adoption of the IDNs and the content in the local language. So just to conclude, the internet, I'll say, it can be an incredible equalizer and an opportunity for economic growth, but only if everyone is able to take part in it, if everyone is able to participate in it. So it's an exciting space for us to be in, and there are a whole host of problems to be solved. which can be taken up as a challenge by more and more of the startups who are operating or planning to enter this area. And believe me, whatever solutions we are able to build or are in the process of building up, we'll be in the end we'll be impacting lives of hundred of million of Indians. So it's open to all of us to take it up as a challenge, and how excited are we to impact the lives of hundred millions of the internet users. So that is up to us. So if all the listeners and all the startups who want to go digital, in the end, I would just like to request, it's my personal request, then it's my personal request that please adopt .in and .bharat. It is the India's own digital identity. So go for it. Adopt India's own digital identity. Thanks. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for valuable insights. It's NIXI is doing some great work to make the internet more inclusive, and to get financial inclusion and digital inclusion across the country. So some great work happening there. We have one question for both the panelists, in fact. And we have this from a couple of startups. So where the startups are asking about the fact that there is a huge lack of standards in terms of input, storage, and display, especially of Indic languages for local languages. While we do have Inscript keyboard for input, we do have Unicode as like an overall internationally accepted standard, and we do have open font format, but there's no mandate to sort of work in these formats. So will that help, or is NIXI, is W3C working on that domain, or do you have any ideas on that sort of challenge being solved?
So, great question. W3C wouldn't worry about the storage of the data particularly. That's a file system issue, and frankly, if the file is defined as supporting Unicode, then it should be able to support any character. What we're very concerned about and working on is the ability to input and display in any language. That's really what our Indic internationalization program is all about. How to make sure that those same characters that have been defined in Unicode and in other places for any given script can be input into a website, and that the language tag, the slash in HTML, supports those languages successfully. So that is the exact problem that we are working on. We haven't had enough support from India. There's 22 languages with lots of and different levels of support on the web. We want to make sure they're all supported equally. So I would again contact my colleagues at CDAC in Pune and work with them on the Indic program that we have to provide people's input. People that are specialized in Tamil should work with us on we start by doing a compatibility study. What works and what doesn't work today. And then we determine what needs to be changed and who is actually a native speaker of Tamil is much better equipped to say, do we support that language adequately or not, than somebody who either doesn't speak it at all or speaks it as a second language. So the more support we can get from the indigenous speakers in India, the stronger the support we'll get for the web. And then that problem will actually go away. But it's a matter of people with the expertise working on the problem to get the problem addressed.
That's true, sir.
And just to add to this, in terms of the standardization, definitely when all these 22 official languages have been launched as an IDN, so CDAC, GIST, the team at CDAC who helped us in developing the language policy. So that entire standardization was done. So it was a kind of as Mr. Allen has rightly said, the end user, the user who's using that particular language will be in a better position to give that input as compared to any other outsider. So this entire standardization was done as per the language experts only. So in a way, has been taken care of. But yes, the display and the storage part, the universal acceptance team, they have been working on this particular aspect, and yes, things will improve.
Okay, thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot, Alan, sir. Thanks a lot, Shivam, sir. We've got some great insights from both of you today. And both NIXI and W3C are doing some great work for Indic startups and for tech startups in general who want to establish a sort of presence on the internet. And both the organizations are doing great work in terms of getting standards in place for these startups and to enable them to move further. So thanks a lot to both of you. Thanks for giving us your time today. Thanks everyone who's watching. Thank you, audience. Very